Hello there, Qckslvrslash here, and today I have a video of my own, this time sailing the Tier 10 Russian cruiser, the Moskva. And I've really enjoyed this ship since I've got her. It's been a lot of fun. It's one of my go-to Tier 10 ships, though it kind of depends what I'm trying to do. And in this instance, I'm still trying to do some of the Yamamoto Isoroku campaign missions, which requires me to light a bunch of things on fire. So I threw my Kutuzov captain into my Moskva and teamed up with my buddy Flying Goomba and set sail. And you can kind of tell right there, I may not have entirely been paying attention because I kind of just drove into him and kept sailing in a straight line. But the reason I mention the missions is because there's probably a couple points during this match where AP may have been the superior choice, but I kept firing HE, and it's just because of that mission. And it's one of the reasons sometimes I don't like campaigns. They're great if you don't care about when you complete them or you've got all the time in the world, but when you do need to focus on completing a specific task to move on, it can kind of force your hand and make you play in a way that maybe isn't so bright. So off the bat, I am beelining for this island on the north side of D, because I find once I do get behind it, it provides a lot of cover. I take a parting shot at the Yamato right before I dip behind, and, well, 1,000 damage, not much there. But there's other things to focus on, namely this Kagero and gearing. If you can take out enemy destroyers really quickly at the start of a match, it is so often worth it. So what I'm going to do here is keep turning to my left and just use this island as a big shield from most of their fleet to the north, and most of their fleet to the south, and I'm actually going to turn to the north and almost sail away as I activate the radar, lighting their gearing up, plain as daylight in the middle of his smoke. Now I overlead him with that first one, but you can see a lot of the team is focusing on him, and the gearing's caught flat-footed. He got into that smoke, laid it, figuring he would just be able to sit there and shoot without really any repercussions. And ultimately, his failure, because he should have looked at our team composition and gone, okay, there's a number of ships with radar, including a battleship in the Missouri. And I've been finding a lot of late, people just aren't taking into account the fact that there's radars around. I've seen a lot of ships sail into some pretty horrible positions only to get lit up like daylight and absolutely wrecked. Speaking of, well, this Yamato probably doesn't have a whole lot of time left. I'm feeling safe. A lot of the team's been pushing around this corner together, so I can get nose in, really use that bow, the famous tanky bow of the Moskva, and just start sailing towards the enemy. Speaking of, there's their Kagero on low health, and I'm going to finish them off and get my first blood. Now it's worth mentioning, the reason this is working, so many of us on one side of the map, is the amazing work our Shimakaze and the rest of the team over there at Alpha are doing. That Shima has gotten into the cap, is contesting it, and I can guarantee you just sending walls of torpedoes that are slowing up the enemy team's roll. And if you don't have momentum, particularly on this map, I find it can be very hard to get yourself moving as a team. Meanwhile, we are just starting to pick ours up. We've taken out a destroyer, there's still a gearing somewhere, but he's on next to no health. The Yamato's gone, and you can see pretty much the whole team pushing into Delta. We are ready to start just steamrolling through these enemies. Now I definitely get caught here and a little lucky. I decided to turn off, I wanted to get behind this island, and I get a decent chunk of damage from the Kerr first, but not too much. I try to aim at the gearing, but by the time my guns are ready, he's a goner. And fortunately for me, I get behind this island, so it's time for me to slow up and wait a bit. I do have a fire ticking on that Kerr first, which definitely helping me with my campaigns, and my own fire is about to go out. So what I'm going to do here is pretty much just wait for these battleships and Goomba and the rest of my team here to get a good chunk through Delta where they're going to have a line of fire on these ships at the enemy cap. And the reason is, the second I come out here, I'm going to be the solo target, kind of spotted. Like you can see, if you just draw lines from them, I'm the thing everyone sees and I'm alone. So it means a lot of fire is going to come my way. Now I am trying to focus this Qckslvrslash down because I believe he's put my fire out, and I'm just trying to hop to the next island, that next piece of hard cover, and just give myself the time needed for the rest of my team to catch up. And you can see it's gone pretty well. Most of their team never shot at me, and I think it's because a lot of them are starting to pay attention over onto Alpha, where finally the Shimakaze is dead, and the Qckslvrslash leaving just a Missouri and Montana, which thankfully they're doing a decent job keeping themselves alive for the time being. Meanwhile, those of us over here, we're not stopping. You can see the team just continuing to sail through, and that would be a force I would not be happy to see. It's rare that things can become so coordinated in a random game, but you lead the charge, you get a lot of ships, and you get that momentum. The team's just gonna go, and that's exactly what's happening here. So with the final volley of the Qckslvrslash, I'm readying myself for this Des Moines. He's just about 10 kilometers away and giving me enough of his side that I think it's time to put some citadels into a ship. And you can see I'm doing the same. If he was really paying attention to me, he could be doing some damage here. But until those guns switch over and start looking at me, I'm going to keep all of mine active. Another decent hit there, 4 grand, but no citadels out of that second volley. Maybe the third will do the trick. The shell's just arcing over the fort on the edge of land. There's another citadel, another huge chunk of this Des Moines hill. And finally he's shooting me, and he's got AP loaded. And I lose a chunk of health, and it's time for me to get that bow over. See, the rear guns pulled off target, and pretty much when that happens, you're approaching angles that are steep enough that it's going to be hard to punch into you. And the second I get there, the Des Moines switches targets to that side on Ibuki, which means I'm going to be able to cut back here, because Goomba and I are about to have a second little friendly encounter of the match. And that Des Moines is all but gone. And we're just rolling through their team. You can see how lopsided a match this has become. The Montana's still hanging on out on that flank, and you can see the enemy destroyers. They've been out there the whole time, really not sure doing what. Their smoke really could have been useful over here to conceal those of their team that were left as we pushed into them, but that didn't happen. And I want to get some revenge on this Zhao, because he has been annoying. He's lit me on fire a couple times, and well, I've had enough. Goomba was getting lit up by him. He's been doing a good job at being a Zhao. Take out some of his torpedoes at this range, that doesn't matter, and he's all but a goner. 355 hit points left. He does light me up though, right before he goes. And the crews are dead. There's really only one thing worth shooting at in sight, this enemy Missouri. And I'm not stopping, because our team's not stopping. This is one of those situations where you can be over aggressive and just keep pushing at an enemy, because the reality is, one Missouri, it's not overcoming this much gunpowder. No, those destroyers, they could be a threat. We've got DDs of our own, and well, got a pretty commanding lead. 900 to like 140. This one's all but over. There goes their cab. So now it's just who gets to kill the Missouri. Got some fires going. They get put out, which just means time to light some more fires. And right now is definitely a situation where when he's showing me a little more of that flat side, some AP out of these guns could go a long way in doing some damage, but I am going for the fires, so HE it is, and it's not going to make a huge lick of a difference because the Missouri's gonna die. One way or another here, it is dead. You can see her turning, trying to get all those guns on for one last broadside. That's gonna be it. Goomba gets the final kill and ends the match. And all told, a pretty good result for me. 403,000 credits, 7,900 experience, got Dreadnought, Arsonist, First Blood, 123,000 damage, and a number of kills, which was nice because some of the other games today have definitely gone a lot more poorly. Typical weekend play seems to be a steamroll one way or the other, but got through more of my campaigns and had some fun, which is the whole point of this. Wound up second on the team. Pretty happy with that. It wasn't a stellar game by any means, but I did what I needed to do, and I was right where I needed to be, leading the charge and getting rid of those destroyers early. I think really is what allowed us to push, because you could see what our Shimakaze on the other flank was able to do just by existing over there for so long. As far as the damage, mine was pretty much spread around because it seemed the second you had a target, it was dead almost just as fast as the bulk of us just all focused one thing down, then the next. I feel really bad for that Des Moines, and I think his best option probably would have been to run down the middle of the map. At the end of the day, took home just over 200,000 credits, the 7,900 experience, which is nice, and the Commander XP can go into the pool for retraining other guys. Anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed this. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel, and as always, I'm Qckslvrslash, and I'll have another one for you all later.